everybody, my name is Luke Marr, and this is Hot Low Mode, and today on Hot Low Mode we are coming to you with a Ken Part 2 fashion roast and review for 2023. As you all know, we did a Part 1. Go watch that if you haven't, if you're looking for some of your favorites. But listen, there was so much to discuss from Ken because it's literally like 2 weeks long. We have to keep going. We have to cycle through. We gotta move. We gotta groove. We gotta talk. We gotta discuss. We gotta disseminate. We gotta roast and toast. We got a lot to do. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, first up, we have Aishwarya Rai, and she is wearing Sophie Couture. I don't know the brand personally, but my first thought was A+ for an attempt. You're going metallic, Judy Jetson. It's a hooded gown. It sort of wraps up. It creates like a faux hood because it's not really sitting on her head, but it creates an almost hood effect. There are these sort of big slumped sleeves. Then the dress sort of falls into a floor-length skirt that has a train that flows out from the back of the knee area, and there's a big black bow that sits right under the bust that creates that sort of pull effect, I would say, which creates the schlumping in the sleeve section. It's a lot of look, you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole lot of going on that is going on, and so that's why I say A for effort, a C+ for execution. I love it from the waist up. I love the hood effect. I think it's cool. I like the sleeve element too. It creates an intriguing sort of triangular shape up top. It's not something you see a lot. I actually kind of don't mind the bow. I think that it's done very, very well. I think that the way that it falls is really beautiful. I think that the color works. It's not taking too much attention away from the silver. I think my issue comes in with the skirt portion. I just think the fit of the skirt is kind of weird. It's not body conscious and it doesn't have to be, but I think that the fit of it just seems a little bit unfitted. It feels a little bit too big, a little bit strange. I know that it's also meant to like be a mermaid sort of effect at the same time, but I don't think that it tapers in enough, or maybe the bow blocks the view of it tapering in to really give that effect. And then the big sort of train that flows out of it, personally feel it's a little bit unnecessary. You know what I mean? There's a lot going on already. You have hood, you have bow, you have silver, you have metallic, you have shine. Did we need a train? I'm not sure we did. Let that train go. You catch not the next one. You just walk home. That's fine. That's all we need. A for effort. C, maybe take away the plus for execution. Next up, we have Alicia Vikander, and she is wearing Louis Vuitton. This is a custom style. It's a spaghetti strap peach gown with a lot of silver embroidery that runs throughout the bust and the skirt. It feels very Art Deco, Tiffany lamp, even though it's not really Tiffany lamp. And I only say that because I think Louis Vuitton has been referencing Tiffany lamps recently. It's something we saw on the carpet. I think it's something we saw in the most recent resort collection. And there's just something about this motif here in the silver that just reads Art Deco Americana to me. It doesn't mean I like it. It just means that's what I think of when I see it. My issue is I don't really see like the peach color and the silver working super well together. It's not that it looks bad, I just don't think that it looks good. I also just think that the seam right at the waist is like off-putting. I just think there's a better way to let the dress flow. I just think it draws your eye to the waist, but like not in a way that you say, oh my God, that's amazing. It's just like, oh. I think there could have been something a little bit more exciting done here, because the peach and silver feels a little bit like, I don't know, dropping mercury on your summer grilled peaches, and like, I don't want to eat that. The peach, fine. The mercury, I'll play with, but together, I'll do certain things that are really bad for my body, but like that is not one. Next up, we have Brie Larson in Chanel, and I'm convinced that Brie Larson has caught the Margot Robbie Chanel curse. Like, Margot Robbie said, I'm done. This is over. The contract is up. And so the curse just kind of like migrated up out of her body and then just like slowly found the next white woman and said, ha, I'm here. And that's what's happening to Brie Larson, and I am concerned for her well-being. A tweed poltergeist is embodying her, and I feel uncomfortable. It's a Chanel look. It's Resort 2024. It pretty much has like a tunic top in sheer that has gold and silver embroidery. It almost looks like fireworks. And then there is what seems to be a checkerboard motif underneath in terms of a dress with what seems to be a plunge of some sort. It has bell sleeves. It's incredibly wrinkled because it looks like it's an organza. And this checkerboard is sort of like a light beige and then like a darker sort of copper beige sits next to it at certain points. It's just, I don't understand it. It's a weird dress. It doesn't really make sense. I think it's very ugly. I do like somehow the embroidered top. I think that adds to it in like a positive way, which I think is tough. It's like more of a net positive way, but still. I just don't really get the pairing of it. I don't really understand Virginie Viard's Chanel most of the time, and this is one of the looks where I say, it's lost on me. I'm not understanding. It's ugly. Cool. Thank you for your time. Somebody should really get that curse checked out. Next up, we have Carla Bruni. She's wearing Celine. This is a custom look. It's not my favorite at all. It's pretty much a cocktail dress. Top of the cocktail dress and the bust area is some sort of crystal style. I just don't think the fit is great. I understand crystals and Celine and Aishwarya, like it all goes together. You know, I get it. I understand it. I'm with it. I just think it looks a little bit cheap, tacky, meh, unmemorable. And I think again for Celine, which is a brand that is very, very sort of simple. It's about clean lines. It doesn't feel as clean line and as simplistic as it really should be. As for the skirt, the draped cocktail skirt, I just like also don't understand it. It has a sort of purple twinge to the silk, and then there's a big sort of side train that flows out of it, and like it's just weird. I don't think the skirt and the top makes sense. I just don't get it. Now, listen, I'm gonna, and like this is maybe crazy of me, but I'm not even really gonna blame Celine for this, because like looking back at Carla Bruni's Met Gala look, like I think Carla, she chooses what she wants to wear. She's not in the realm of letting it be dictated to her. Here's a sample. This is my personal opinion. I'm just going to say it's probably Carla might be taking the L on this one because Celine tried. I think they could have fitted a little bit better. I think this look was doomed from the beginning. So do with that what you will. Next up, we have Cate Blanchett. She's wearing a custom Louis Vuitton look. It's something that we've seen before at Cannes from Cate Cannes, Louis Vuitton. The look essentially is a white sheath dress, really simple in terms of silhouette for the most part when you're looking at the white portions of it. But the thing that really sort of makes it intriguing is the sequin patch pocket. I don't love it. I think maybe whatever sort of fabric, maybe like a velvet of some sort in black would have been better, but also like I just don't think patch pockets are the way to go. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't love a pocket in a gown. I do. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I think it's utilitarian. I think it adds to a look. I just think that the pocket should not super all up in your face about its pocketedness. I think it should be subtle. I think it should hold a lot, but I don't think it should be like a main portion of the dress unless that's really the intention. And personally, I just don't think the pockets are really helping with intentions. As for the black portion on the bust that creates this long sort of train, it starts right at the waist and then sort of flows up, creates a really nice silhouette, and then flows back. We can see that it's lined in the white fabric that matches the rest of the dress. On the front-facing element of the fabric, it is this beautiful black. I think that's cool. I think it adds a different dimension. I think it adds a different element. I think it's sweet. I think it's wonderful. As for the belt, sitting at the waist, I don't mind it because it's not really a belt, although I think it's meant to look like a belt. That silver metal piece that looks like a tied belt, I think is not really a belt. I think it's just meant to look like that. It's a faux belt. I think maybe that's why we added in the pockets, or we added that in because of the pockets. I don't know. I think that's meant to go in with the pocket element. I don't think it really does. I don't think it flows. I just think without the pocket, I think this would be so much better. But I do like the intention. I just don't love the delivery. Next up is Didi Stone, and she is wearing Rami Kadi. Listen, this is your quintessential fitted bustier dress that has a low waist element. It flops over, it exposes the beautiful fit of the body, and then has a big sort of skirt. It's almost like a trophy to me silhouette. It's intriguing, it's cool. I don't love it, I don't hate it. It's there. I think it fits really well. I think the skirt is fine. I think the bodice fits good, like it makes sense. I don't love it. Again, I don't hate it. Again, I just think that it is there. I want a little bit more, but for right now, we'll take it. Next up, we have Elle Fanning. I'm standing Elle Fanning, I feel like constantly. She is wearing this Paco Rabanne look. I believe that this is from the fall 2023 collection, which was Julian de Senna sort of going for it. The dress is really intriguing because it seems to have been all built off of this necklace. The necklace, circle shape, easy metal, sits around the neck, but we can see this long piece, silver, runs down from the front of the necklace and helps to create what is essentially a strapless sort of dress. We can see that the bust area is covered by these little metal flowers. They're really beautiful. They're really intriguing. I think they're super fun. The sternum area there is the continuation of that big long sort of metal stick situation. It branches out again into like a floral sort of detail. And then from that, we have this flowing of what looks to be leaf sort of motifs created and cut out in metal pieces, and that creates this big, long, flowing, beautiful element. I think it's a really cool way of tapping into the chainmail aesthetic of Paco Rabanne. That is a brand that is known for its chainmail, and I think Julian de Senna is trying to update it, make it cool, make it different, make it more memorable to the modern day sort of people. It is a brand from the 1960s, the chainmail is from the 1960s, and sometimes it can look a little bit dated in terms of space age mod aesthetics, but here I think they've done a really, really good job of actually making it feel young and cool and fun and fresh and rebellious, but it doesn't read ergo 1960s. I love it. I like Elle Fanning taking risks like this. I think they oftentimes pay off for her. I don't think that she really steps in a bad light. And even if they don't work, which this is not one of those cases, she always is trying, so you can't even fault her really for it. So I love this. It's daring, it's exciting, it's fun, it's cool. She's a star. We then saw Elle in a Rodarte look. Now this is made up of a beautiful white lace. We can see, I believe, that it has a very subtle white strap, but at the top of the neckline there is a little chiffon frill, and then there is a white opaque band. We can see the bust is covered by these little flower lace appliques going all across, and then right under the bust line is this really beautiful sort of, again, strap that's opaque. It actually centers the bust area, it emphasizes it in a good way, but then these little white bands continue 2 more times, and that helps to accentuate the waist. Then the dress flows down. It's a beautiful, again, lace, easy, really gorge, and then we have the hem ending in that little chiffon frill flounce. It's nice, it's easy, it's simple, and I think, again, it's a great example of Elle can do crazy, a little bit over the top, a little bit drama, but at the same time, she can do a really good pared down, something easy. You can wear this to dinner at a nice restaurant. I think she understands what she's doing, very much so. Next up is Elsa Hosk in Viktor and Rolf. I feel vindicated. She is wearing this gorgeous look. It is an haute couture style that I believe is from Viktor and Rolf's most recent haute couture collection that was all about sort of displacing these beautiful gowns on the body and sort of rejigging them, which is why we can see that there is a beige sort of corset that sits on Elsa's actual body, and then this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little chiffon gown. It sort of moves off kilter, almost like you rejigged it to sit off of the body, and I think that's the point of it. It's meant to be funny, it's meant to be comical, it's meant to play on this idea of beautiful gowns and haute couture and things like that, but to tweak it in this just funny, humorous, witty manner, and I think that's why we all love Viktor and Rolf so much. And also at the same time, the dress, even though it's like hanging off of her body, it's a beautiful dress. It's simple and it's easy, but just the frill, the flow, the little ribbons that sit right at the waist and also at the hip area, it's a gorgeous piece. And I think that Elsa Hosk is one of the perfect people to really truly wear it. So I love her. She is an icon. She is a star. She is a legend. I mean the dress. Also Elsa Hosk for wearing the dress, but like the dress is all of the above. I live for her, so thank you. Next up we have Ester Exposito, and she is wearing Versace. This is a custom Atelier Versace look. It reads very Versace, I will say. It's made up of a very heavily embroidered gold, silver, and black embroidered element. There's a lot of holes in it, you know, cutouts that are covered in sort of strings and almost look a little bit like how you would lace up a corset. And then on top of it, you have this sort of roaming and flowing motif in the silver and the gold. I like the idea of it. It looks a little bit ripped up. It looks a little bit tattered. It looks a little bit torn. I think it's a cool concept. I think it's fun, and I appreciate that Ester, you know, went for it. This is the first time I'm ever really talking about her, so, you know, I don't know much about her personal style. What I will say, though, is Up top, the two different straps just like I think is unnecessary. I think the dress is enough in and of itself. And I think up here, we didn't need the differentiation. Either go full one strap or just do two of the same. There's no need. As for the cutouts, I think they work. I think they're cool. I think it fits a Versace aesthetic. I appreciate it, but I don't think it really wows in that way. I think that there's just something missing from it a bit. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad look, because I don't think it is. I just think that there's something that really lacks the wow factor here. And I would like the wow factor. I'm a fan of the wow factor. I need a little bit more zhuzhing. Next up, we have Fan Bingbing, and she is wearing George Hobika Haute Couture. I mean, you want to talk about red carpet. I think that this should be the standard. She's wearing this beautiful fitted bustier in black feathers, and then as we reach below the waist, because it really does fit at the waist, we can see the waist come in. I would say probably like the top of the thigh. This big, beautiful ball gown skirt emerges. I will never forget the element of flying buttresses, and that's what sort of props up the churches. I know like Notre Dame has flying buttresses, I think, and it helps to sort of, you know, keep the church up, but also at the same time, it's beauty and they turn it into something attractive. I bring this up because these sort of godets don't really look like godets to me, because normally you would see a godet, which is that sort of curved panel of fabric that creates that sort of big shape. But here it almost looks like there's wiring that ombres from black into gray into this light blue, because the shape is so thin. The arches here in this skirt are so thin that I can't think of it as anything but wiring underneath to help give that shape, because I think if it was just molded that way, it would probably have to be a little bit thicker. So I'm thinking that there's wiring in that, which I like. You know, rig it up, it helps. But it really does give this almost like beautiful, I want to say like arachnid shape to it. I just think there's something about it that looks leggy and gorgeous and intriguing and beautiful. I will say I'm intrigued because as we move down the skirt, we get to the lightest of the blue feathers. We can see that the tulle underneath is visible, and I wonder about that choice. I don't think that it's bad. I don't think it really takes away from the look whatsoever. I think it's fantastic. I just think it's intriguing that it stops. All I have to say is, like, Fan Bingbing, I understand why the gals in China love her. I'm very happy. It's a good look, you know what I mean? Like, it's good. I think we got the shot, so the south of France could, you know, just pack it up, bring it on next year. We're good. Next up, we have Gemma Chan, and she is wearing Louis Vuitton. This is a custom look, very sort of simple red halter style. It seems to be that it's a two-piece ensemble, but it's actually been sort of draped, and it seems to be that the top of this crop top has a sort of panel that runs down, and it's been tied into the top of this red skirt. I think the concept is kind of nice considering it's different than what we normally get when we see cutouts. Normally, it's one dress, has cutouts, easy peasy, but here it's two different pieces that come together via a sort of drape of some sort to create a newish kind of take on the cutout gown. I appreciate that. I can look at it from that perspective. Do I think it's really amazing? No, but do I think she looks really, really beautiful? Do I think that this is also something that Gemma Chan normally does? No, she's not normally like a big cutter outer. Normally, Gemma Chan is very conservative to a degree. There's always an element of sort of classiness that reaches her. Never do I ever see her in like bodycon. That's not her vibe, and I'm not saying that it's unclassy to wear things like that, but also, do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's very, Gemma Chan goes very traditional. Listen, you all know me. Body out, I'm fine with it. I don't care. I like the idea. I like the dress. I don't love the shoe. There's something about the shoe that's throwing me off. I know it's like a sandal heel, but I don't love it. I love the fit of it as it sort of flares out. The subtle train, easy peasy, nice. I'm fine. We're good. I'm happy. Next up, we have Iris Law, and she is wearing Saint Laurent. This is essentially a dress, from my understanding. It's a spaghetti strap sort of sheer dress that has, I believe, a little bit of black opaque underwear underneath. Sheer dress, which, you don't really see a whole lot of. It's very rare nowadays, I think, that somebody really pulls out like full sheer dressing. But I appreciate it. So we can see that the top of the dress is actually an opaque black velvet band, but it's sandwiched by lace scallop bibbing, which I like. I think the lace is cute. I think it's different than the normal lace that we think of. Sweet and dainty and small. I like the fact that it's also scalloped. I think it's cute. As we move down, there is a belt over this sheer dress, which I think is meant to give it shape and like fit in the waist element, but I don't really think it's necessary. Like, if you're gonna do a sheer nighty kind of dress, just like do sheer nighty kind of dress. There's no need to belt it. It's not necessary. The underwear I think is fine, doesn't really matter. And then it reaches right above the knee. We have a stocking on, which is kind of like trying to continue that whole effect of like sheer over the body, which I get, you know, I think in normal circumstances you probably wouldn't need it, but like to each. And I'm happy that she didn't really do like the opaque kind of gloves, shockingly. I don't really think the leather gloves are great, but I think that they correlate, I guess, to the shoe. I like this slingback shoe, think it's cute, think it's fun, think it's very sort of 90s, ugly work chic. I'm into that. Long story short, it's okay. I'm dealing with it. I'm intrigued by it. I'm not upset about it. It's working. Next up, we have Isabelle Huppert, and she is wearing Balenciaga. Now, I know people are going to ask for my opinion on the Balenciaga thing, and like, if you said you weren't going to talk about it, why are you going to talk about it? I'm talking about it because I think from a fashion news perspective, it's important to discuss. History is being made as we go on in life, so like, let's acknowledge that. The thing is, I think it's very interesting that Balenciaga is making this comeback now. Its last November was really like the controversy. I think also in the age of social media, people forget about things quickly. And it's also intriguing because it is an IP, i.e. an intellectual property of parent company carrying. Like, they're not gonna just let it go up in flames. I remember back in, it must have been February or March during fall 2023 ready-to-wear season, Balenciaga had a collection. They showed, I know that they're also now doing a collection currently, or they did it a few days ago from when this video would be posted. It was a fully digital collection, but it's trying to make its comeback. So I thought it was important to acknowledge that element of it, just as like people existing in the news organization and world. It's a black floral lace that's over a beige dress, has the big shoulders, you know, yada yada. I actually, like, to be completely honest, think it's an intriguing lace. I like the look on Isabelle Huppert. I think it's fun. I think it updates lace to be a little bit more modern and intriguing, but regardless, it's not really about the look. Next up, we have Jennie Kim, and she is wearing a look from Shu Shu Tong. It's a very fitted sort of bodice, although from like this side we can see like the fitting is not the best fitted, but it has a little sort of white panel that sticks out of the top front element of this bodice. There is a very straight bow that sits across the front as well. Kind of like the bow, I think it's cute. Then the skirt is slightly gathered, and there is a little sort of tiered section that sits right around the sort of hip area, but that skirt, it's flare. And I like this from Jennie because I think, looking at the last look that she wore during Cannes, she's into this like very fitted silhouette up top, and then as the skirt goes, it's big, it's bold, it's bouncy, it's beautiful, it's bell-shaped. I think it gives an intriguing silhouette to her. It's her sort of also, I think, really honing a silhouette outside of like performance wear, where I think is what we see a lot of the Blackpink ladies in. I do love the bottom of this dress where you have this white sort of pleat that just slightly jumps out. It's very cute. The shoes, great, intriguing, wonderful. I think it's working. Next up, we have Julia Fox, and she is wearing a whole lot of look. Now, this molded clear top is by Joanna Prasmo and Eliza Wozaic. It's a clear top with pieces of string that holds it up around the torso area. It is molded to fit over the bust and then sort of falls down the front a little bit in an asymmetrical sort of amorphous manner. It's very Julia Fox. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm going to say about it. I'm not a hater on it. It's not my personal favorite look ever, but I do think that for Julia Fox it tracks. But the skirt is by the young designer Livy Sang. Now this, I think, actually is very cute. I really like the skirt. I think the big poof in this skirt that covers the hip area is really fun, and then the skirt sort of flowing out from underneath. It's really great. I kind of wish we had gone for like full Livy Sang look, because I looked up what the look looks like. I think it would have been a little bit more exciting, but I always have to give Julia Fox credit because like there's a styling element to what she does. It's not, here's the runway look, let's just put it on, bing bang boom. No, rather there's an element of styling. The top is from somewhere, the skirt is from somewhere else, the shoes, the hair, the makeup. There's an element of actual styling, which I don't think happens a whole lot in terms of celebrity wardrobes nowadays. Next up, we have Julia Garner, and she is wearing a custom Gucci gown. This is a green halter style. I like it. I think the draping is really, really beautiful on it. And normally I'm like, oh, draping, meh. But I think there's something about the way that the draping works, the way that it sort of fits right at the waist, and that sort of gathering is really, really tight there. I think it helps to sort of cinch the waist in, but utilizing a technique rather than just a seam to actually do that. The way that it falls down the front too, I think adds a nice sort of element as well. The train that falls out of it is kind of like a swallowtail train. It has those two little tails on the edges that I think is really nice. I think the color works really, really well on her. I think it's good drape elegance. It works. I'm fine with it. Next up, we have Kirsten Dunst, and she is wearing a Chanel look. It is a vintage style that is sourced from Shrimpton Couture, which is one of my favorite vintage dealers. Sherry Balk is an icon, but the dress is actually from Chanel's Cruise 1995 or Resort 1995 collection. It's a really pretty simple gathered black strapless dress. We can see up top there is that heavy sort of ruching in black. It's a little hard to sort of see, but at the same time, very sort of 90s Grecian flow, could say like 1930s kind of Chanel era. And then as we reach the skirt, it's not draped whatsoever in that way. Rather, there is a sort of slit. So from the front, we can't really see the fact that there actually is a tier in this skirt, but from the side, we can see it much more. We can see it in the back. Essentially, it's just a little flounce that sits right on the thigh area. Again, I would say it's very Chanel, like old school Chanel. I'm not saying that you have to like the flounces on top. I'm just saying that historically it's a technique that was used by Coco Chanel and then was carried on by Karl Lagerfeld throughout the history of Chanel. I was going to say ready to wear, but it's haute couture and ready to wear. I do love the little sort of flouncy hem at the bottom. I think it's cute, it's curly, it's sweet, it's intriguing. I do love the hem as well. It's a really subtle detail. I think that that almost lettuce hem is like very cute. Is it the craziest look in the entire world? No, but do I think that it's cool to see Kirsten Dunst doing a nice vintage moment? Absolutely. The Chanel continues. This time it is a Resort 2024 look on none other than Lily Rose-Depp. Don't love it. Very short cocktail dress with gold glitter that runs throughout. It just doesn't really do anything at all, unfortunately. The big heavy black straps I also like don't love. I know that it correlates to the hem, which also has a big black banded strip around the bottom, but I just like don't love the dress. I don't think it's super flattering. I don't think that it's cute. I think the length is also kind of awkward with the stockings and the shoes. I just don't think they like go together. It's just weird and strange. It's just not for me, unfortunately. I don't think it's for her either, but I digress. Next up, we have Lisa Manoban. Now, she is a Celine woman. She wasn't on the carpets at Cannes, but she was attending a Celine dinner, so I'm gonna talk about the pinstripe suit and the sequins. This is what I like about Celine, is like a sexy suit. I love it. I think it's smart. I think it's very Eddie Slimane. It's what he does. It is what he kind of made his name on. It's just like a nice, well done suit. I think the pinstripe in the black background with the silver sort of pinstripes running down it, really wonderful. I think it adds a nice element. I think it's fun. I think it's funky. It means that it's definitely of higher quality. And then I love the sheer little striped top. Like, it's beautiful. The black flounce at the neckline as it plunges down is gorgeous. And then that pinstripe continuing in the little subtle pleats of that top is just perfect. It adds the nice subtle detailing that we like to see, but at the same time correlates to what's going on in the rest of the look. Listen, she looks good. She looks great. She looks fun. She looks funky. I'm sold on it. Next up, we have Marianne Cotillard. Chanel. It's a bathrobe. It is a bathrobe. It looks like she was staying at, I don't know, the Four Seasons. She said, listen, the bathrobe is good enough for me. I'm going to take it. We're going to go. And like, not to shit on the Four Seasons bathrobe. I'm sure it's beautiful. I've never been. I don't know, but I'm sure it's gorge. I just don't think the bathrobe works on the carpet here. I don't think that tweed in this length with that belting, with that lapel and cuff works. I just don't think it reads fashion. The shoes, it's given early 2000s. I don't say that in like a nice way. I just don't get the bathrobe. I don't understand. Next up, we have Maya Hawke, and she is wearing a custom Prada look. Let me be clear. I love this dress. Repeating. Let me be clear. I love this dress. Styling, don't love. The dress, hot. I'm a sucker for a belle silhouette, okay? So like, don't be mad at me. I think that this fits her phenomenally. I think this green silk belted dress with a beautiful darts and the seams that run straight down in a contiguous line is hot and sexy. I think the green is great. It's iconic Prada. You go into those Prada locations with certain ones, at least I think like in the 80s and the 90s, you'd go into the Prada store, probably early 2000s as well. You had this like sickly green color. It's almost like a pistachio, but it's very sort of Marchese, and you don't really understand the Marchese element unless you've been to Milan, you've been to goddamn Marchese store, which is a cute little pastry and candy shop that Mrs. Prada loves, and you go in there, you're like, oh my god, it's so cute, so sweet, and they have the beautiful little Marchese green, and like it correlates to the Prada green, and so like I just think that this sickly green color is amazing. I think it's beautiful, I think it's fun, I think it's deep, I think it's elegant, I think it's elegant, it's all of the Eleg's, okay? The shape of the dress, again, is just fantastic. Like, whatever the wiring, the piping that's going on at the hem of that skirt to keep it in that shape is just, it's fantastic. Like, it's just a great dress. Shout out to Prada for making it, because it looks amazing. Even the way that it curves up right into the armpit area, like, it's a good dress. It is a good dress. It's a good dress, Savannah. It is that dress.com. I love it. The blue gloves, I do not like. I do not like them, Sam. I do not like them with my green dress. I don't love it. I understand it. To be completely honest, I even love the seamage of these gloves. I think they're leather. It does a tie back to like Prada history and the fact that Prada used to make really beautiful gloves and leather products. Absolutely. And I do love that. And I love them outside of being paired with this look. I love those gloves. With the look, I don't love it. The boots, again, also listen, like give me 1960s go-go boot every day of the week and I will sit here and say, absolutely, thank you so much. You could kick me in the mouth. I will lose all of my teeth. I will swallow them. And I'd still say thank you. But I don't think that it works here. I feel like this is trying to give like modern version of debutante, but it's debut-haunting me. You know what I mean? I love the dress. I think it's fantastic. I respect Maya Hawke. She's a fashion girl. We can say that very clearly. I just don't love the styling of the look. But the dress, she will live in my heart for forever. Next up, we have Michelle Yeoh, and she is wearing Balenciaga. If you do not know, she's a Balenciaga woman. She's been a Balenciaga woman for some time prior to controversy. Essentially, this green taffeta strapless gown. It's very much so heavily draped up top, and then the skirt sort of falls in a sheath figure, and then there is a green matching taffeta stole that wraps around the arms. There's a black glove and black shoe. It's not my favorite look whatsoever. It's crinkly taffeta. I think it looks kind of awkward and weird here. It doesn't photograph well. It's just not hot and sexy. Again, do what you will with that. I just wanted to mention it because, again, example of Balenciaga tempting to return. Next up, we have Naomi Campbell, and she is wearing a Valentino Haute Couture look from spring 2023. It is a red gown with a pink feathery train flying out of the back. The bust area is very much so about detailing the cutouts, sternum and clavicle area. There is no sleeves. There's cutouts on the sides, the hips, I presume the back, but also on the front, so it exposes the stomach. The draping, very tight, very sort of textured. There are little bows right in the center of each of these little strips. And then the gathering is very, very tight at the top of the skirt, but starts to get a little bit looser as it flows down and creates a big flowing, beautiful train. The Valentino red, I think, is good. I think it makes sense. It's not my favorite dress in the entire world, but I think it's fine. What I think is intriguing, though, is the fact that this big pink train sort of sits right on top of the train of the actual dress. I have a feeling that this pink cape is not from the actual look, because it's not from the actual look. It seems to have been added on. But I like the fact that A, it's pink with the feathers and adds an extra drama. I think the pink sitting on top of the red, it works, but also in a weird way, it's kind of like a history of Valentino. There is the red, that is the Valentino Rosso, very iconic, but also, well, it's not the exact pink. It might be a nod to the PP pink, which is Pier Paolo Piccioli's pink. That is very much so now a Valentino color that we all associate with the brand. In that way, I like it. Listen, I think it's fine. I think it's nice. I'm not mad. Next up, we have Natalie Portman. She is wearing a version of a Dior dress from the fall 2017 ready-to-wear collection. I'll be honest, I like Natalie Portman's version a lot more than I like the original. And that's really because I think the strapless element works very well instead of those big, thick Dior straps that are just like, I worked through it with my therapist. Like, I'm good. I just want you to know why I don't like the straps. As for the belt that sits on the waist, again, like, I just don't think it's necessary. I think that it fits so well that the belt doesn't need to be there. And again, like, if you're gonna do a belt, but why not do it in like a navy blue and then sequin like the dress the waist belt? Like, why must the waist belt stand out from the rest of the beautiful blue ombre sequin gown? I don't know. We could go that extra step and make it work and make it happen. And I don't think it would be a big deal. I really don't. I think that it would blend the look together. You'd still get the belt effect, but it would be without the whole juxtaposing, cutting her in half, and also there's a black belt on a blue dress that doesn't need to be there. I do actually love the rest of the dress. I like the ombre. I think it's beautiful. I do like the fit of it. I think it really, really works. The navy blue on the skirt that goes from really, really dark to a sort of lighter blue, and then the lightest at the bottom. I think it's a lovely look. Is it the Junon dress recreation? No, but at the same time, I think this does Maria Grazia's early Dior collections justice. More justice than they did for themselves. So thank you to Natalie Portman for your service. Next up, we have Salma Hayek, and she is wearing Alexander McQueen. Now, I believe that this is the finale dress, or one of the very last dresses from the fall 2023 McQueen collection. I personally thought that that was one of, if not the best collection, low-key of Paris Fashion Week, and low-key maybe of the month. But it really was a beautiful sort of breakdown of the anatomy of tailoring. And so here you're going to say, Luke, there's no tailoring here. It's a purple taffeta gown. You can actually discover that Alexander McQueen himself was a fan of Charles James and incorporated Charles James's work into his gown making. So that's kind of why I'm like, ooh. I love the dress. I think that the deep plunge in this purple is really, really gorgeous. I think that Salma Hayek fills it out really, really well. I think that it nips in at the waist. It showcases the bootay really well. I think these big puffs on the sleeves are also very nice, and I would say very Sarah Burton-esque. I think it's something that she really has sort of honed in on since being at McQueen. But I love this gathered mermaid skirt. I think it's so weird and frilly and fun and cute. Again, tree dress reference from Charles James, but like I'm not, because I don't really think that's necessarily it. But I do think that there's an element of like 1930s glamour kind of in this moment. It's just been sort of somberified in this really dark sort of gothic-y purple. And I just think Salma Hayek is doing it a lot of justice. Next up, we have Sophia Carson, and she is wearing this big Elsa ball gown. I believe that it is some sort of, I don't want to say it's chiffon because I don't think it's chiffon. It looks too thick to be chiffon, but whatever the fabric here is, it has been manipulated and cut into these little flounces that have been pushed down and layered on top of each other at the bust, which is very, very much so where we can sort of see the beginning of it. But as we reach the skirt area, this curvaceous motif runs throughout the skirt. It's really intriguing. It's personally not my cup of tea. I'm going to be very honest about that. Like, I don't love the dress. I understand people loving the dress, and that's fine. Live your best life. That's your motif motivation. Go off. Do your thing. Whatever. It's not for me. I don't really love it. I do think the red is really striking. I just think that there's something about the way that it goes bust and then big skirt. It just doesn't feel fully thought out in terms of silhouette. There's just something here on it that I'm just not loving. The thing that I am loving though, which is very different than what I normally talk about, is the necklace that she is wearing, because it is a Damiani beautiful necklace. But Sophia Carson talked about how she was named after Sophia Loren, and Sophia Loren actually wore this beautiful sort of circular diamond necklace, and I love that. I think it's fun. I think it's cool. It's a nice nod. I'm into it. I'm about it. It's a fun history. It's a fun personal element. Happy for her. Next up, we have Storm Reid, and she is wearing a custom Prada creation. It is a dress that is based on spring 2023, and it's fantastic. Listen, the silhouette here, again, I think is a great example of like this beautiful bell shape. It does work. It really does work. I think you need to show a little bit more torso here, and I think this does a good job of proportioning the torso really, really well, so that it doesn't feel like from below the bust line, the skirt is eating the wearer, which is, I think, really what my issue with the Sophia Carson look was just now. Now, the dress is covered in these really, really beautiful paillettes. It goes from the tippity top of the strapless style where that white border is, and then it moves down and follows the actual unevenness of the print of the dress, which I think is really cool. I like the fact that there is that continuity between what's going on in the actual original runway look motif and what's going on the dress. It's just been embellishified. We can see that this floral motif is also running throughout the look as well. It's a little bit less clear, I would say, because of the paillettes, but I don't think that's really much of a problem. The dress falls down, it's beautiful, it fits her really, really beautifully. And then as we reach the hem, that white sort of comes back in. It's a really cool Prada reference. We've talked about it ad nauseum, I would say, at this point. But I love the fact that Prada is taking particular looks from the collections and then respinning them in different silhouettes, adding different techniques like embellishments to it. I just think it sets Prada apart from a lot of the other counterparts. I would say only kind of really Louis Vuitton does a lot of that, where they take the looks from the runway collections and updates them and makes them a little bit more honed in to the wearer that's going to wear them on the red carpet. I think it really works. I think it's really fun. I think it keeps that collection alive. I'm sold on this dress. It's honestly a gorgeous one. And last but not least, we have Troye Sivan, who is wearing Ferragamo. This is a look that is from the spring 2023 collection from Ferragamo, which was Maximilian Davis's debut. It's a really beautiful, singular, draped train blouse top. I think it's really stunning and fun. I think it's a different take on menswear because it is paired with this really simple black pant and a black boot. I will say I wish the pants fit a little bit better. I think that's kind of imperative and important. But I will say I love the fact that the drape goes over the shoulder and hits the floor. It really adds a dramatic effect to it. I was going to say the motif of this silver top is different, but it's not because it was actually raining during the show. Sivan is definitely having his little fashion moments, and I'm into it. I'm sold. So that is the end of our part 2 of the Cannes Fashion Roast and Review. If you want to check out part 1, description box below. Let's talk about best and worst, though. I'm going to give best to Storm Reid in the Prada. Love that. I'm going to give it to Lisa in Celine. Sold. Jennie Kim, Shu Shu Tong, Fan Bingbing in the Georges Hobika, the Elsa, Hosk, Viktor and Rolf, Elle Fanning, Paco Rabanne. As for worst, Carla, Bruni and Celine, Marion Cotillard and Chanel, Brie Larson, also in Chanel. So that is the end of our Cannes Part 2 Fashion Roast Review. Again, thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next one, and TTY out.